All right, today we're going to use a language model to generate models and designs within Rhino. We did a live stream on this last night, but my screen froze, so I wanted to do this one more time. So let's just take a look at what we can do with this. There's a lot of different options and things to think about when you are creating that code. So I want to walk through that process. So the first thing here is that we have ChatGPT up on the right screen, and then we have Rhino. The first thing that we're going to do is go and type in Python editor, edit Python script, and we'll get this. So if you already know Python, you don't need ChatGPT. You could just type in the code here and run and create really cool models. But for all of those who don't know how to code, they can go ahead and, in this case, we're using ChatGPT, but you could use Bard or a number of other language models to generate code. The first thing to keep in mind is I did ask some preliminary prompts, and this helps with the code. So I did try this with Blender as well in a different application, and the code is slightly different for it to work in Blender versus Rhino. So thought it would be a good idea just to write Rhino3d in here, and then ask if they know the Python version, like the Python language for Rhino. When I did this without this prompt, it didn't generate the correct code, like the correct code format, and there was an error on the Rhino side. So again, at this point, we're just like prompting the model to try to retrieve these things. And then after that, we're going to start with, let's try to start with making a code, cube. Because I want to do this live, I'm just going to do this here so you can see how this works. So to begin with, we'll just say, in the first prompt, I think I mentioned, let's see. And as we're doing this, you can be pretty specific, and you can also adjust the code that it does create depending on what types of adjustments you want for that. So here we just did something pretty straightforward, which is a cube. And right now it's just generating the Python script. So again, it's a really cool way to actually learn how this language works. And then from there, you can make adjustments and start to tweak and understand the code, and then start to try to push it to the limits and see what we can get out of this. Copy code. Then we're going to come to the Python editor, and I'm just going to hit paste. And you can see that it generated a code. So different than, I like to go and hit like zoom selected. That's one of my favorite commands. So one of the things that's slightly different from Blender to Rhino is in Blender, it automatically updates. In Rhino, it's running that command and it's kind of baking it in. So that's just something to keep in mind. But what's cool about this is at first you can just start playing around with the different attributes. So for instance, let's say I go to, it did not like that attribute. Side length, corner point, side length, let's do 10. And we're going to go 20 here. And you can start to see you can start to make these adjustments here, which is pretty fun. We'll just do like a 1, and we'll just do like a 5 here. And you can see pretty quickly, you can start to get a hang of what kind of attributes are being adjusted. And from there, you can, my favorite command shift, and then just pull this up. So with the combination of also just some basic modeling skills, you can pretty easily make those manipulations once you have created that geometry. So for instance, I can take that and then I can hit contour, and then we can contour this thing. We're going to go 24, and you could create a series of floors. Cap those, and then now you have a series of floors, and Like let's say I want to just do a really quick conceptual tower. I could then bring a custom image and then suddenly I have, a tower with some floors. So let's see how far we can kind of push this model and the different type of stuff that works and doesn't work with ChatGPT. So we're going to go back to shaded. Let's just ask it to create a design for a tower. We'll also ask it to write some surfaces and some landscapes. And then the second thing that I want to try to do once we do that is I'm curious if we can do some commands once we've selected an item. So I want to try to figure out how to activate this contour command. I tried it before and I did not do it successfully, so we'll see if we can do it successfully or not. But also just taking a step back as this is generating as well is this is pretty impressive just in terms of being able to type in something and actually get a code that actually works that you can then run in Rhino. And if you're familiar with using Grasshopper, you could also integrate this within Grasshopper and run Python scripts in there as well, and then have some of those other attributes connected to that script as well. So maybe that will be a separate video. But yeah, this is generating quite a bit. And what I like about this is it's going to give us a lot more attributes. So I'm really curious if this is going to incorporate an error or not. And I have noticed sometimes there are errors, but it still generates the script here. All right. Whoa. Okay. Oh my gosh. This is crazy. So well, I don't even know what kind of, okay, they're poly surfaces. So this is pretty cool. And what's interesting about this is let's see, I can change the base width, the base height. So let's say I want to make that 25 and then generate that again. That's pretty cool. And then let's say this, you think this thing is kind of boring. I mean, this is just very crazy that you can do this. So you have those base attributes. Like let's say we want to do something with the corner. Oh my gosh, now I want to try a bunch of different things. Let's see. Okay, so did that adjust? Yeah, that adjusted every single one of these items. So you could kind of start to get a setback there. That could be interesting. So let's change that to like a 5. And then let's just regenerate it and see what happens. And again, we'll also do a landscape and kind of like a city thing as well. All right, so again, you might be looking at this and thinking like, well, I wouldn't want to design something like that. But what I really like about some of these language models, it's a really good brainstorming exercise. So we're currently very limited in terms of like what the possibilities of what we could think about. Based on our own biases. And sometimes by just brainstorming with the language model, you can come up with some really cool ideas that would then generate other ideas that you could then build off of. And again, once you have that base, I mean, really simply here, you could just do Control-Shift. So this is actually more successful than my live stream in terms of how much we went into depth, because that was really just my first time messing around with this. But yeah, you could start to push and pull and kind of create like a really cool tower pretty quickly just using some of these attributes. So we're going to put that to the side and let's try to do this again, but let's make some adjustments to the corner here. Let's do a 3 here and let's just do a 5 here. And it does take a little bit to understand, like where is the controlled item and the controlled point. So here I was manipulating that top point. And we could go back and then let's say we want to do like a 5 here. I don't like that I need to move the object, but I think, it's fine. Like it just keeps regenerating. So let's see what that did. Okay, so that manipulated this one and that one. Okay, that's a little bit weird. Let's try this corner with 5. All right, I swear we're gonna get to the different landscape options as well, and start to kind of push and pull on those. All right, so again, just like another kind of design, another thing to think about, and another kind of way to play around with this item. And what's cool about this is you can change the number of floors. So let's say we only wanted like 8 floors. Number of floors, we want 8. Floor depth, floor width, 25. So is this actually creating, let's just move. I'm curious what, it is creating just one type of geometry, which is a little bit bizarre. But I mean, yeah, I'm just curious if it's creating floors or not. Yeah, it's creating floors within there. Interesting. Okay. And I'm sure we could start to push and pull like what the actual output is. But yeah, let's just try this again. Let's try a different size, see what happens. The base is still really tall, and I'm really not liking this base anymore. So we're just gonna do a really short base. Let's just do like a 1 foot, and let's not do this. And let's just generate another floor plan here. All right. So you can see, I mean, depending on what your needs are, you can really start to play around with the design and start to come up with some ideas. In terms of incorporating this into your design process, I really think it's really about generating a series of ideas and maybe a different way to like think through a problem that you're trying to solve, and then seeing what kind of things come up and then going from there. All right, so that's the tower. Let's see, I don't know. 006 width equals 0. All right, there we go. So now that we have a little bit better sense of how to control these, let's do like a 10. All right, pretty cool. Let's just delete that. So, I mean, I think that's pretty cool. And of course, pretty easily you can just come in here and change it to like a glazing type, and then we'll go to rendered. And what you could do pretty easily is, let's say you can, what you could do pretty easily is just do a command. Since I'm on a Mac here, I can Command Shift, and I can select these surfaces here. And do Control Shift, and then we'll change that to just like a default material, and maybe we just extrude this a little bit so there's like a little bit of depth. Call it good. Now we go to rendered view, and then you can, no, it didn't like that. So we'll just say use layer material. Yeah, I guess it's a little bit hard to control. So I guess you could create like a series of boxes here. It didn't like my idea of doing like a sub-material. There is a way to do that. I think you just need to do both piecemeal, but that's fine. So we'll just create all these, turn these into some glazing towers just for fun. All right, now let's try to customize some surfaces. So some surfaces, let's start really basic. Create a surface. and I'm on caps lock. And then we'll do a landscape and see what that looks like. We'll even do this, create a undulating landscape. Once that code is complete, we'll enter that. Let's see if I can do just the materials here on. Let's see if it will change over. It says that it varies. Okay, the code went, so let's go here, go Control All, Control Paste. And now we have a surface, and we can manipulate that surface based on the points. So I can say like 20, 10, and then just keep regenerating that surface. Let's do a create an undulating landscape. I wonder if it could make a cityscape. Let's try that. Oh, and we are also still going to do the contour command and see how that works as well. As we're waiting that to populate, I'm still determined to, we're going to use a default material. Rendered. So that is the default material. And if I go here, and I'm going to change this to custom. It must be the geometry itself. I'm thinking that it's not. There's like two faces. That must be what's happening here. So I have to, yeah, it looks like there is the cube itself and then there's the surface. So that's, I guess one of the disadvantages is, you know, the geometry that you're getting itself is not perfect, but again, I mean, I still see this as kind of like a way to learn some just like basic, okay, no, it did not like that, but it did create a series of points. So, okay, this is great actually. So select points, select point, we're going to delete this, and what we're going to do for now is we're going to move our towers. So I'm going to regenerate this as a series of points. Unexpected error. That's fine. So what's cool about this is what we can do is we can select all these points and just hit patch. And then from there, we can adjust how this is going to create this surface. So let's just delete this again. I'm going to select, and then we're going to patch, and then I can mess with the spans. So let's do like 60, 60. We can mess with the stiffness, and I actually like to do a preview, and then you can kind of examine if that's really like what you're going for or not. So, I mean, again, depends on what kind of thing you're going for. Maybe you're making like a facade panel and you just need to like cut out some of this. It really depends on like what you're trying to do, but that could be a really nice way to start like generating some designs. What would be kind of cool too is, I mean, you could create a rectangle and then do Control Trim, Control T, and hit OK. Then we can take this surface and, you know, this could maybe, you know, be like a facade or a screen, or, you know, let's say you're doing like a parking deck. You could then like apply it to this model, for instance, like a little landscape. All right, that looks pretty cool. Again, it's like kind of creativity on steroids a little bit. Okay, we're going to do a contour command. Okay, create. So, okay, create a contour command. So what I kind of want this to do is I want to create a shape and I want it to then contour it. And I wasn't able to figure this out before, but we'll see if we can select a shape and then do something with that shape is the goal. Grid spacing, I don't think this is going to be the correct thing. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We can see and we can hope. All right, it's almost done. Almost done. Copy code. Select all. Control P. Error occurred. It does not like that. Okay. We tried. We tried very much. Oh, let's try also like create a cityscape. So sometimes you just need like a background of a city. Let's see what happens when we just ask it to say create a cityscape. Yeah, it's still typing, so I'm gonna try this out. Go paste. Nope, doesn't like that. Create a cityscape. So there's a couple items that we've been able to do here and just generate a lot of things, mostly for fun. And I'm curious to hear from all of you, like how you would actually use this in your design process and whether it's helpful or not. And when it comes down to it, there's a couple different ways to think of it. You could think of it as an educational tool where you're actually learning how the code works and you can really test different things out. And then from that, you can start to manipulate the code and really understand how you can push the limits and start to layer multiple functions within one code. Another way to approach it would be really from like a design exploration standpoint, and that would be thinking about all the different ways that you can generate new ideas and designs based on just like generating different commands within ChatGPT. I also forgot to, we have a cityscape. I forgot that with the landscape feature, you can make a lot of adjustments, and I've done that in the past. I forgot to do it this time, but oh wow, here is our cityscape. Okay. Pretty cool. I wonder if you can undo, no, you can't undo a command because now I'm gonna have to deal with all these buildings. All right, that's it for now. Drop some comments below. And I hope you enjoyed this. And again, apologies for that live cast, the live stream without it, with the screen freezing. I appreciate your patience with that. Hopefully this was helpful.